We have now entered a new golden era in discus throwing. The first 22-meter throw of the season has finally been dropped. And who will win this year's NCAA championships in Eugene, Oregon? You take the throws, and we got the news on this week's Throw Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Throws Show. Whoa. It's the Throw Show. I'm, of course, your host, Jason, joined, as always, by the People's Champ, Olympic trials competitor. He is the head throws coach of youth development, Coach Sam Weeks.
What'd it do?
Sam, the NCAA Division I Championship is going to take place this weekend in Eugene, Oregon. Today we will be going and covering our predictions for who we think is going to win the national championship in each of the throwing events. But before we get to that, oh my gosh, discus throwing, specifically men's discus throwing right now, but honestly we could say women's too, is freaking disgusting right now. And we're going to start off by showing how disgusting it is with a man who, with 3 meets in a row, a three-peat of 72-meter efforts, hitting a new personal best, surpassing the personal best he just set only a week prior to this throw. 72.36, 2022 world champion, Christian Chay, new personal best. This man is on fire. The only non-Ramona 72-meter plus effort since like 2005. Christian Chay, you've been watching these throws. Dane just did an analysis of a 72.34, which you can check out on the on the Throws University YouTube channel. What do you think as a competitor, as a coach, about the consistency that he's showing right now in these distances, in his technique, and the video that you see here, compared to his other 72-meter throws?
Yeah, I mean, he's just proven to all of us that he's in really good shape. Didn't Alekna also go 72?
We'll be cutting to that after.
Yeah, so just because you said he was the only one post or
I should say he was the first. He was the first non-Ramona thrower to throw 72 meters.
Yes. He's been showing that he is in great shape. He's super consistent with his movement, and the results show. And he has that confidence boost. Like, no one can say, I went 72 at 3 different meets, non-Ramona.
3 different locations, 3 different conditions.
Within, is it the same month?
Yes, because
in the same month. No one's done that.
Because he did the first 2 70-meter throws in back-to-back meets, like a Friday, Saturday kind of deal. And this is only like a week and a half later.
So no one has done that. So like he definitely has to be on like cloud 9 right now, just like incredible shape. Just you can see it right there. He got the biggest smile on his face. He's cheesing, like he's loving it, bro. Like I would too if I do 72 meters, but he's just showing everyone like hey, I'm that dog too.
I think it's also just important to remember like how often we talk about how young Alekna is. Christian Chay is super young as well. He's only in his mid-20s.
Yeah, he's super young.
Realistically, he can throw for another 10 years.
Yeah.
That's like the crazy part, which has us thinking, like, depending on where he decides to go in his career, one, we know we're going to see more championships around this guy's neck. But also, how much further can he actually go? Especially with Alekna, Denny out there pushing those distances. Like, we're going to see the greatest wave of male discus throwing in the history of the sport. Like, we're living that right now.
Who do you think will become the face in, let's say, 10 years? Would it be Chay or would it be Alekna? Or who do you think would be more dominant?
It's good you mentioned that, Sam, because honestly, I think right now I would have to give it to Alekna, because this man is showing a competitive, like, drive that I don't think I've ever seen out of him yet. That is like, the reason why he went to Ramona, and we found this out, was because Denny signed up for Ramona, and he knew Denny could break his world record, and he was like, I'm not letting you take that.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to Ramona, wins that battle. And it was a battle because Denny did throw over the previous world record.
Mm-hmm.
Chay, Alekna then sees Chay throw 72 outside of Ramona. So now everyone's basically downplaying the Ramona results and being like, okay, like, well, clearly Chay's the top dog. So Alekna goes to West Regionals. Actually, I think this is West Regionals. Regionals. I'm just gonna say, yeah, no, this is West Regional because this is at College Station. The conferences have me all befuddled over where people are supposed to be, but West Regionals, they're 72-12. Expect that video to be coming out in the next few days on the Throws University YouTube channel. Dane actually reacted to this throw as well. To me, this shows like a level of like, I am going to show to everybody in the world that you can't beat me.
Yeah.
And if this holds out, like this level of just competitive drive that he has right now, I think Alekna, when all said and done in 10 years, might win out with the medal count.
I respect that answer. For some reason, I feel like Alekna is the guy now, but I could see Chay being the guy later on.
Well, I think they could flip-flop. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is like, we've seen that in the history of throwing, how different people have different waves of like, of competitiveness. Like, I think a good, like, there's some people that we've seen that like do really well early on in their career, maybe have a couple down years and then come back to be like the top of the world again, like later on in the career. I think one guy in particular that kind of just directly comes to mind is someone like Koji Murafushi. Koji won the 2004 Olympics, and I believe he was a 2003 world champion. But then like 2005, 2007, like he was still like in the medals. He was still kind of in the conversation, but got to the point where he was sort of like middle of the pack in the later 2000s. Comes out in 2011 and wins a new world title at like the age of like 36, 37. So I think it's like there is still like the chance, like it all comes down to these guys are so close in skill level. It really just comes down to who's better on the day.
Yeah.
But are you thinking Chay between the two?
I could see, like, if I had to look into the future, I could see Chay being like that guy later down the road. Not to take anything away from Alekna. Like, Alekna, in my opinion, is that guy right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's going to be that guy later on. But just, I don't know. When I think about it, I feel like Chay will definitely have he'll be like a phoenix. He'll have a rebirth when he's, a little bit older, pushing his 30s.
One thing I'll say though is I really like the technique on this throw from Alekna. This might be the best technical throw I've seen from him. At least at a good angle, like that we could really get a chance. Which is like when I saw Mosatera, Coach Mo, post this video, I was like, this is the perfect video to watch for like technique analysis. And even like I think his Lithuanian coach mentioned this in our comments section when we talked about the Ramona throws, how Chay has been working on trying to improve his double support position at the finish, because we know that he kind of jumped a little bit like on his former world record in 74, but on 75 it seemed like he was hitting a more grounded position, and I think we're even seeing that here. And what's crazy to me about Alekna is like he's still constantly trying to clean up his throw, and he's still hitting these monster throws, like these monster distances, while making that technical progression.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And just looking at this throw, I definitely feel like he attacks the front, so much more aggressive than, some of the throws, beforehand, which is definitely good to see, especially going into NCAAs, because, everyone's been talking like, oh, Alekna needs the NCAA championship. Oh, he's this, he's that. Well, he doesn't have an NCAA championship. Like,
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I know you're one of those people. There's a few people out there, but I mean, I feel like he hears all of that, and he's in really good shape, and I'm sure he's gonna go get his.
Well, I mean, the important thing is like, yes, I know he's in college, but at the end of the day, like I think Alekna's fully aware that he's a public figure at this point for the sport. Like he's an ambassador for the entire sport, and it's like, you have to get used to, commentary saying things about you. Like you got to block out the noise and focus on like getting the job done.
Yeah.
And for him, The job they need to get done is winning NCAA title, because, and we'll talk about this at the end of the show, there is also an award beyond the NCAA title that I think is worth talking about that is specific to Alekna, that in some ways could really cement him as one of the greatest athletes in the history of the sport. And we had just really, really big throws over the weekend as well. We finally got to see 22 meters from a men's shot putter in 2025. Leonardo Fabre is the first man to break 22, goes 22.31. Fabre has been trying to find his technique all indoor season, all outdoor season. He hasn't been happy with his performances at the Olympics, was not happy with his performance at World Indoors. We know he's capable of being one of the best throwers in the history of the sport on the day, but he needs to find the technique that gets him there on the day of an actual championship. Mm-hmm. So before we get into the next thrower at this meet, who also have a massive PR, what do you think about where Leo's at right now in terms of his season, how he's progressing, and where do you see him come September when he's in Japan?
Yeah, so obviously, he's the first one to go 22.
Yeah.
There are a few people who, or I guess one main person who hasn't opened up their season yet, who could probably take that. But, for him to do that, it's like, okay, like we all know that he was trying to figure out how to go about, adjusting his front so he wouldn't be called for a foul, especially at the bigger championships. And, he had to take a slight step back, to fix his technique, to make sure that he's in a position to, make sure that his throws are valid. Mm-hmm. So, he took that step back, he got better, and now, he's back on that brink of, all right, I'm going to, throw 22, obviously with this toss here. And I feel like this is that, like, catalyst moment where it's like, okay, I got it done. I wasn't called foul. Like, it was a good toss. Now let's just continue to build from this point. So, it's definitely good to see him. Like, obviously, he's one of the guys who could shake up, a top three, at a major championship. So we're glad to see he's doing well.
Yeah, and I think one important thing to go off of is, like, so in 2023, when he had just a massive foul, and the first meet I think he ever went 22 was at the 2023 Worlds. It was like, had that 22-meter throw, secured a medal, and then had a foul that looked to be over 23, and everybody was like, yo, what? How did you just absolutely explode? And then after every meet corresponding to that, he had more 22-meter throw meets than he did not. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was like, clearly that was a huge, like, watershed moment for his career. And I'm wondering if the Olympics and the World Indoors are going to be a similar in the sense of his mentality and how he approaches actual competitions. Because now it's less about how far can you get the ball to go. It's like, can you make the ball go as far as you need it to get the job done on the day? Yeah. And I think that's like a different level of competition that he just hasn't had experience with yet. And I think, like, this coming year, like, the thrower that you're alluding to, Ryan Krauser, could push him to do that, because, like, Krauser's getting older, and I know I always am the guy who's, like, the contrarian to Krauser, but, like, I like to just remind people everyone's human, and everyone could be beaten. And I think even Fabre knows that he could be the guy that could win the whole thing on the day if he makes himself do it. Mm-hmm. And from this meet as well, we saw a huge personal best from one Trip Pippery. We've had the pleasure of talking with Trip on the show here. Really, really nice guy. This has been the comeback career, I think, of the season. Seeing him just sort of had some down years. He wasn't too happy with his performances the last 2 years. Switch coaches, switch locations, switch training environments, and he hasn't looked back since. He got a bronze medal at World Indoors, setting personal bests left and right at the World Shot Put Series. So this 21.96, he's so close to 22 meters. But the crazy thing is, we have seen him throw over 22 meters in the World Shot Put Series.
I was going to say, Fabre was the first one to do it officially.
Yeah.
But we've seen, guys do it at the Shot Put Series, which is unofficial. I know Trip went big. I believe Roger went big.
Roger definitely had a 22-meter
so,
throw.
these guys have seen the ball go far,
Mm-hmm.
just under, different circumstances that would, counter not. So, for him to finally do it at a meet where the mark will be valid, will be official, is good, but we know there's more in the tank.
Yeah, I think for sure, because I think what's cool about it is like, so there's going to be 4 guys representing the United States in the shot put, and it's like, gosh, like, I think that's what makes the national championship so exciting, is like 100% Tripp could be one of the 4, but like there's like 3 other guys in the background that we also have to pay attention to,
Mm-hmm.
and with the success of one American, we see the success of another as Chase Jackson sets a new season's best, one of the best throws of her career, 2062 at the FBK games. This was a huge, huge throw. I think it was like significantly further than like her other throws in the series. But I saw this, really, really liked the technique. This is from her coach, Paul Wilson. You had an interesting stat regarding Chase coming into here. What do you think of Chase's throw, and what do you think of where her career's spanning right now?
Yeah, I mean, Chase is in really good shape. I believe I saw a statistic saying that she has the most 20-meter tosses out of, the women. So, that clearly just proves that, what she's doing with her coach, and, her training is really, really working. We talk about it all the time, like who's going to be the one to break 21. And, just with Chase's consistency, like I guess, her name moves up that list, like,
Mm-hmm.
each meet. And it's like, dude, like, I know we've named other people that we think could probably do it, but it's like, you can't not have Chase in that, especially with her performances as of lately.
And kind of going into the rest of the professional throw scene, the Rome Diamond League happened the tail end of last week, and I had an opportunity to watch the women's discus live as it was happening. And I think it's worth mentioning because on the graphic here, courtesy of Bo Throws, shout out Bo Throws. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. He does a lot for spreading the word of the throwing community and the throwing world, and he's a great news source on Instagram. But he's kind of highlighting, Val Alman won another Diamond League meet, as well as Tom Walsh. With Val Alman watching the women's discus live because Yime Perez was competing, which is a video we'll see following this one post, is her competitive spirit is insane. Like, she is a workhorse in a way that, like, when she's in a competition, how I was talking about with Fabre about like getting it done on the day.
Mm-hmm.
She is like literally the epitome of that, because she opened up the meet with a 63, and like after 4 rounds she was down in like 5th place.
Mm-hmm.
And she was struggling, and like a lot of the women in this meet were struggling. I actually thought that like there's something wrong with the circle, so many people were slipping. But Val was behind at one point, and she basically was like, I'm freaking Val Alman.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out and throws a 69-meter throw, like just completely decimates the competition. But that's just who Val is. Like, she's just another breed of athlete. And I think just one thing I'm kind of like curious, like your take on, is like when you hear an athlete like that, to me is like that's the epitome of a champion.
Yeah, no, I agree. The first thing that came to my mind is just experience.
Yeah.
Just having that experience, Val obviously coming from undefeated seasons, and she's been top dog for a minute now. It just really comes down to, trusting your training and just relying on your experience to get the job done. So, unfortunately, I was not able to watch this. I was, busy. I was away, but, just hearing that story, the first thing that came to mind was like, dude, like she just, she's an experienced thrower. She is a champion, and, she showed the world just that.
Yeah, and I think going along with experience, like there's few throwers out there who have as much experience, especially at the highly competitive level, as Tom Walsh, multi-time world champion, multi-time Olympic medalist, winning another Diamond League meet, going 21.89, creeping ever closer to 22 meters. So we're starting to see the Tom of old in terms of like the type of shape that he can be in and the type of distances that we know he can throw. He had a nasty injury at the Paris Olympics in his abductor during the competition. So it's great to see him back. And I think it's exciting to see, like, as we get closer to, championship season, like, we could be talking about Tom again medaling, for, I don't have the stat offhand, but it's like, if you think back, it's like, I think he has like 3 world indoor titles. He won the world championships in 17, bronze medal in 19, bronze medal in 21, bronze medal, no, I guess he doesn't have any more medals after that, but still, that's a crazy amount of medal count for an athlete. So it'll be interesting to see where Tom's going to be at.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we have Yime. She got second place to Val in this meet. We managed to scrap this throw out. 66 meters. Yime is really, really coming into form, consistency. And, it's funny. Even I see Coach Bedard at Colorado State said that maybe they mismarked it and she actually threw further. I don't know if have you seen this throw yet?
I have.
Yeah. What do you think of Yaime's technique here, and even we even have some of her footage while she was out there in Rome?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Yime has very unique technique for her.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's very unorthodox, but when you slow it down, she does a lot of the core things right. Yeah, she lands a little blocked off, but she just, she's been doing that for so long that she makes it work.
Yeah.
We always talk like style and throwing. Like, yes, there are core concepts that you have to do, but there are different styles, and Yime is definitely the epitome of different style. But, looking at this result, does it really surprise me? Not one bit. She's been very consistent, at 65 plus this whole year, and she's been doing this for a very, very, very long time. So like, she's another one. Like, looking at Val, like, you could say the same thing as Yaime's, world champion. She's medaled at several major championships. She's been doing this for very long. She has a lot of experience, so it doesn't surprise me. And I think that she might surprise people down the road.
100%. And obviously she was really late with getting her right down in the middle there, but at the end of the day, she gets her left down super fast, finishes strong, long double support position, and at the end of the day, that's what makes implements go far. So we have a quick throw from Garage Strength's own Jordan West. He is a new member of the Garage Strength throwing team, but he has 2 dubs back-to-back at Garage Strength. Not quite a personal best like we saw the last meet, but 2049 backs up an incredible start to this man's season that I think we're going to see him really do some damage at the national championship, which is super exciting. The crowd was super hot at this competition. We actually have this whole meet on our YouTube channel, so if you're interested in watching this whole competition, you can check it out there. We have multiple angles of each of the throws, so you can really analyze technique on Jordan's throw or other throwers like Lucas Warning, Tamon Johnson. Sam, you were at this meet. You were running this meet. You were running the whole show. It must have been crazy, but it must have been nice to see your buddy take a big, big throw like this.
Yeah, dude. Like, Jordan popped off in the new threads and the new GS threads. New threads. Like you said, back-to-back wins, and I definitely feel like Jordan's just been on a roll.
Yeah.
I honestly think he's going to go 21 fairly soon. He's just been super dialed in. He's been super consistent. He's been competing really, really well. He's been getting the crowd, behind him. And, he has a great support system in us at Garage Strength. So I feel like he's definitely going to be one of those guys who, goes over 21 and then, pushes, or I guess adds to the entertainment that's going to be nationals, come this end of the summer.
I think it's important to even recognize it's like, Jordan came to us at the beginning of the year, fall of last year, looking for new training. And that's the thing, like, he heard about how strong the throws group was. He heard about how solid the programming is here at Throws University. And the thing is, you can get the same type of programming that Jordan is getting, the same type of programming that Yime is getting. Both of these athletes hit huge personal bests while training with us at Garage Strength Throws University. And you can even get on our custom programming plan just like they are. So if you click the link down below, you can get custom programming from Sam Weeks here. He's one of the top coaches in the world, top coaches in the United States. We've trained multiple athletes to hit new personal bests. And this is and you don't have to be an elite athlete to train with Throws University. You don't have to be a professional athlete. You can just be an athlete who wants to get better at your specific event. And Sam here has trained dozens of athletes locally here, even more online. So make sure you check out the link below so you can start training with Rose University today. And then we have a new world lead in the men's hammer throw. Ethan Katsburg, we're no stranger to this man, no stranger to the throw show. 82.73. He's the Olympic champion. He's the 2023 world champion. He's looking to defend his title in Tokyo. Katsburg is just the guy in hammer throw right now. It's funny how we constantly talk about the women's hammer throw and how deep it is, but in the men's hammer throw, Ethan's been kind of standing above the rest.
Yeah.
What are you seeing on Ethan's throw here, and what are your predictions for later this season as Ethan continues to throw even more?
Yeah, I mean, just with the angles that we have, I would just say he really just attacks the throw. My first thought was, about time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy to say that, but it's like we know that he's in really good shape. We know he's going to throw far. He did not have the world lead, but now he does. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, all right, he's finally starting to, have those big results. Big results. He threw 80 before this. But it's just like good to see, and, I'm really hoping that we see a bigger throw soon.
Yeah, I think, we've seen him throw 84 a few times. I think, can we see an 85 this year?
Hopefully.
But if we want to talk about 85-meter thrower, we're going to first start off. This is a U20 athlete. His name is Armen Zabatos out of Hungary. And I'm going to say this again. U20 athlete, 78 meters with the 7-kilo hammer. This guy, Hungary has had a long lineage of successful and elite hammer throwers, Olympic champions, world champions. But now they have like the next guy. Ben Salaz is like their top guy right now. But you have a guy who's 18, 19 years old throwing 78 meters with a 7-kilo. What do you see on this? What do you see on his throw? And like, I think what's crazy to me is like, I think we're starting to see a new version of a hammer thrower because he has very long limbs, just like Ethan.
Yeah, I will say with this one, you can kind of see before they cut, but like his rhythm is just like super smooth. He gets super long. He just really attacks it and then just cranks into the finish, So it's like these young cats are really, really, really they're something else. They're really getting after it. They're challenging these marks. Like, these top pros are throwing far, so can we.
And you know how I mentioned about Ethan going 85? Well, this man actually did go 85 meters. Now, this is 85 meters with the 6K, which is the official U20 implement. But this is, I believe, like the second farthest all-time 6K throw. It's 85.21. You get to see the full throw here. It's quite far away, so I'm not sure how much Sam can analyze. But the speed that he has throughout the ring and the throw, like 85 meters is just dummy far.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculously far. And, as you watch the video, you can see, like, he's just throwing with authority and just, like, really just, accelerating through and just transferring everything into the finish. So, like, this dude is definitely very exciting. I would love to watch it in person.
Yeah.
Respectfully. But, he's on fire right now, and he's doing great things.
Yeah, I mean, I have had the privilege of seeing, like, a really, really far hammer throw before. When I was at Kansas State, Amanda Binkson used to throw there, and she's the former American record holder.
Yeah.
And I saw her do a session with a 3K implement throwing at like 86 meters.
Yeah.
That thing was like, wzzz.
I can imagine.
It was just like you'd hear like a zipping sound every time she would make a rotation.
Yeah.
If you're talking about these young bucks just throwing dummy far, we're no stranger to Jackson Cantwell on the throw show. Jackson Cantwell hits, and I'll specify here, it's the number 2 all-time outdoor high school mark, but it's the number 3 all-time high school mark because Ryan Krauser threw 77 feet indoors his senior year of high school. But Jackson Cantwell goes 76 feet, 11 inches. He keeps teasing that he's going to keep throwing. We will see. But, dude, like, one, physically, he's a specimen. But, 2, his technique has really gotten good over the last, like, year or 2.
Yeah, no, he looks super smooth and, he's really putting on a show for, honestly, all of us.
Yeah.
Obviously he has the crowd there, and they're going bananas. But
I mean, look at that, dude. He has like 100+ people just watching him. Like, clearly, I can tell you what happened. If I had to guess, because they did the same thing when Ryan Whiting was in high school. I don't know if they did the same thing with Jordan Geist, but in the Pennsylvania State meet, when they knew that they had like a top dog athlete, they would have people on the announcers like, we have the number one shot putter in the United States throwing, head over to the shot put. Like,
Yeah.
I guarantee you an announcer probably made something saying like, everyone head to the shot put ring and we'll shut down the rest of the meet.
Yeah.
Because that looks like the whole track meet is watching this throw.
Yeah. No, I agree. It'd be dummy not to do that. Like, this dude has the potential to challenge. Well, obviously he got top 3, but challenge the top 3 marks. You know, that top 1 is very, very far by Michael Carter, and we'll see what happens. But, you know, I definitely think that Jackson can get, you know, very, very close and continue to push, you know, his ranks amongst.
Yeah, I think it just depends on if he decides to go to high school nationals, because I think those are the last meets that will count as official high school meets. Yeah, man, I hope he throws far. At least, like, I know he could throw. Like, we all know he could do it. It's just like, with such a light ball like a 12-pound and with his strength levels, so much of it's just like finding that nice little length on it, you know, that just little bit of extra flick gets those light balls far. Well done, Jackson.
Well done.
And we're going to finish out here with our react part of the show with not quite the national lead, but man, if this was any other year besides 2025, damn well should have been, as we see Chris Marcel in high school throw 220 feet. This is the number 1 all-time mark in Wisconsin, so I'm sure Joe Frontier was here to see it live. But 220 feet, I think what's crazy to me is the fact we're seeing so many throws over 210 feet by multiple different athletes in the same year is insane to me. Because literally I remember for like the longest time, it was like, you maybe get like 3 or 4 kids each year that throw over 200 feet. But we have like 5 or 6 that have thrown over 210 and 2 over 220.
Yeah. You know, it's like the best part about that is they all look smooth.
They all have great technique.
They all have great technique. It's not like one of those guys who has mediocre technique and kind of just chucked it out there.
Yeah.
They all look really, really well.
They're not like flipping their hands over halfway through the circle. They're not like having these giant swinging left legs and just like throwing it out with a reckless abandonment.
Yeah. No, they all are smooth as butter, and, you know, make me a little envious. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, I know. The kid looks really good. But also, it's like, one thing I noticed is like, they all look like discus throwers. I think that's like another thing. It's like, they're all super long limbed, very built, move very well. It's like, we are seeing true discus throwers in high school that seem committed to be elite discus throwers, which has me excited for the future of the event in the United States.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I was like making fun of Sam Mattis when I was talking about weird things you do in technique. Because if you look at our one video with Sam where we track his career, the way he threw in high school and college is not the way he throws now. But that kind of tolls it up for the react portion of the show today. Right now we're going to get into the predictions part of the show, because Division I NCAAs are this weekend. You should be able to stream them on ESPN. It's always a fun time to watch the throws, because usually they each get their own individual live feeds. But we're just going to be going over who we think is going to win each event. Sam, I'll let you go first. We're going to start off with Javelin, then we'll go into Hammer, then we'll go into Shot Put, and then we'll finish off with Discus, because I think that's the most interesting one to talk about.
All right, so I have my list right here, and for men's Javelin, my prediction of who's going to win it is DeVoe of Miami.
Diesel.
I've been looking at his statistics on TFERS, and I just feel like he's been relatively consistent throughout the year. I'm not much of a javelin guru, but I do like watching good javelin. But just looking at his results the past year and, you know, his sequences at different competitions, I feel like he is the guy to take it.
Yeah, and through 82 meters as conference meet, did in style as well. Always appreciate that. And I think it's like, you know, I think we have like 3 guys who've thrown over 80 so far. We have an athlete who's also thrown over 84 as a personal best, but 81 is a season's best. I think I agree with you. Diesel's probably going to be the guy that I would choose to take it as well. So we're pretty much on the same page there. Diesel for top spot out of Miami. And what about the women?
For the women, I had Leanna Davidson.
Okay.
Very similar.
Out of Georgia.
Excuse me. I looked on TFERS and just looked at, results, and out of everyone that I checked, I just felt like she was the one who was most consistent, and she had, one of the furthest tosses, so I just felt like, that might be too much of a safe answer, but I just felt like, just based off the information I had, that she'd probably be the person to win.
Yeah, and I think the crazy thing about Georgia this year that's also a story is just that they've had 2 women jav throwers throw over 64. Both over 63, one over 64. Rotunda, who threw 64 earlier this season, wasn't as consistent as Davidson, but she's only a freshman, and Davidson has the experience as a senior. So it's interesting to see, like, where's Rotunda going to be next year? And it's like, dude, 64 meters, like, that could be a world lead at certain parts of the year. And the fact that she's doing that as a freshman in college.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I think Davidson's a safe bet because I think with what you said, you've coached Javelin before, consistency is such a key factor in that event.
Absolutely, especially at a major championship.
For sure.
That's huge.
So for what about the men's hammer throw? What are we thinking for men's hammer? Because that one is interesting.
Yeah.
I think we could both agree. Are we going to see top 2 from the same school?
I think so. You can see my list. I cannot pick one of the other. I have a tie. I have Costas and I have Angelos. It has to be one of the 2. Yeah. Now, who is it going to be? I don't know. They both can show up.
Can we just divide that between you and myself? Like, we just do random draw and just like you choose one, I'll choose the other.
All right. I'll pick Angelos.
Okay, I was gonna go with Costas anyway.
Okay, just because I feel like they just beat each other like every other week.
That's got to be a crazy environment to train in.
Yeah, it clearly works because they're pushing each other. It's great, but I had them both at my number 1 spot, but I feel like it could go either or. But I'm gonna say Angelos, so you can have Costas.
Okay, yeah, I'll take Costas.
Let's see. I think they're both gonna go crazy. They're gonna put on a show because when we were down at Ramona,
they put
on a show, and they've been doing that all year. And I don't see anyone disrupting the show that they're gonna put on.
Yeah, and they were such good, competitors in that meet because they were constantly cheering for each other, and they were like going crazy when the other one throw far, but they would also know, like, okay, I'm up in X in a circle, it's time to lock in, because despite the fact that you're happy for your friend to throw far, you also want to kick his ass.
Absolutely.
What about the women's hammer throw?
For the women,
are we going to take the leap on this one?
There were a lot of people that I felt like could win, but just based off statistics and like what I've looked, I'm gonna go with Stephanie Radcliffe of Georgia.
I think that's a very good answer. Like the consistency part of the equation, I purely for like emotional bias reasons, because I've sort of had a connection with this school the last like 2-3 years. I really want to choose Emily Fink out of West Point. I think seeing an athlete out of West Point winning an NCAA track and field title is awesome for the sport. And I think it's awesome for that program and could do a lot for them. And I think it's a testament to the worker that Emily Fink is, that she has to do all the things regarding becoming an officer in the military, all the PT on top of it, and then still be an elite hammer thrower. Absolutely. But Ratcliffe has the international experience that Emily Fink does not have.
She's a former NCAA champion.
Yeah.
She won it 2 years ago.
Damn.
At Harvard. I'm very familiar with Stephanie, so I kind of have bias in there
I
too.
Well, I think in that sense, because your friend coached at Harvard and mine coached at West Point.
Yeah. So
coaching at the smart schools.
A little bit of bias, but that's who I think. So
yeah, and Emily Fink is the only one to surpass 70 meters this year, so that's going to be like my she's the current NCAA leader. Yeah, so that'll be fun to watch.
71, Stephanie through 70. So
okay, she also threw 70.
Yeah,
okay, my
70.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's get into the men's shot put.
Yeah, shot. Yeah. So for shot, I have Tarek.
That's a safe answer.
the most safe answer possible, but
he gets it done when it matters. Like that's the thing.
When it comes to shot put, like he is the dude.
Yeah,
he's the dude. Now I will say, Jason Swarns is relatively close. Like he's the closest guy. But I just feel like Torek is just like, he flips the switch. Like, he's that guy. And I put CJ Licata in my list too. So shout out to CJ. You know, gliders unite. Gliders stick together forever. I would love to see.
I want
him
CJ
go
to
crazy.
win.
Yeah.
I'm saying CJ's going to win. I don't care if it's based in statistics or not. Just the visual of a glider winning in 2025 a major shot put title.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sold. Because he got second indoors and he performs well at the
He
performs well at championships.
Yeah. No, I was going to say indoors. He did really well. He was the closest out of anyone. So it's a possibility.
I'm banking on you, CJ Licata.
And then on
women's shot,
the women's, I have Maya.
Yeah,
I feel like she's just a clear like lead, you know, amongst the women.
She also wants her title back. Like, you can just tell there's like a level of aggression in the way she's competing right now, where it's like she knows how good she can be. She showed it before, and I think like her losing the last 2 major championships has just been like, I know I can be there again, and she's already proven that by having the NCAA leading throw. But, like, dude, not only that, it's like, I'd like to say she could challenge 20 meters. We'll see if she does that at the actual meet, but I think Maya is who I'm going to pick as well.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like, you know, she's just that clear, like, face of women's shot for NCAA.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to get into the women's discus, and then we'll finish off with the men's discus. Women's discus... Who you got? There's 2 favorites that I think I have, but I think there's a clear number 1 right now.
Yeah, so we all know my answer.
Yeah.
My answer is Jaden Ulrich. But I do think your pick, I won't say your pick, I'll let you say your pick, but I do think your pick could challenge Jaden, but Jaden is my pick.
So I was choosing Alita Van Dalen simply because multiple meets over 65 meters, and she has a good amount of international experience. And I think it's just interesting to see, like, what can Jaden do in a circumstance where she has to throw over 65 meters, where it's like she's not like a clear dominant person in the event and throws far. It's like someone's actually pressing her to be like, oh, I can't get away winning with a 63. I got to throw like 65, 66 plus, because Alita can do that.
Yeah.
She may not have the extreme highs that Jaden has had,
but she's super consistent.
Her consistency over like 64 meters, I think, is greater.
Yeah, I believe she's been over 64 almost every meet, so she's super consistent. But the thing is, like, Jaden, if Jaden opens up, I honestly think whoever opens up well is probably gonna win.
Right.
Within like the first 2 rounds, whoever does it within those 2 rounds will probably win. Now, that's not a guarantee because, you know, anything could happen. There are numerous athletes who win it on their last attempt. I just feel like for you to, like, really put yourself in a good position to claim it, you're going to have to do it within the first 2 rounds.
I agree. Now we'll get into the last event, the men's discus. And I think this is the most interesting because there's so much on the line for historic reasons as to... There is a clear favorite, and it's Mikolas Alekna. We discussed him earlier in this episode. But there is a person out there who could potentially challenge him, and that's Ralford Mullings.
Yes.
And what we did not discuss on the show is at that same meet that Mikolas, you know, the West region where Mikolas did go 72, Ralford also went 67.
Yeah.
And we've seen time and time again, Mikolas is the clear favorite going into an NCAA championship, but then somehow comes out the other side not with a championship. I think there's a lot more riding on this, not only because, like, he's a senior, but also it's like, yes, he's a senior. It's his last time, but he's the world record holder. He wasn't a world record holder going into those other meets. And he is looking to have a career defining season that could lead to a Bowerman Award, which is basically the Heisman for track and field. And a thrower has never won the Bowerman, never really gotten close. They've been nominated, but never have gotten close to winning a Bowerman. And I think with him being the world record holder, and if you won an NCAA title, all that could be claimed, and then he could literally establish himself as the greatest discus thrower of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all know how I think about Alekna. He's the guy. He's the top dog. He's the top dog.
But he can also be his worst enemy sometimes.
Regardless if it's Ramona or outside Ramona, that dude is legit. I think he's going to do. I think he's just going to prove everyone wrong. I don't want to take anything from Mullings because he's really, really good.
Oh, exceptional.
And he's already shown that he can compete extremely well.
Yes.
I just feel like the way that we watched Alekna attack that 72 at West Regionals, I feel like he can easily do that at Nationals. It's just making sure that he does.
I swear, when I watch him throw, he throws with a level of intensity I've not seen him throw before with in previous seasons.
Yeah.
Like, he would always, like, obviously throw hard because he'd always throw far, but I feel like he makes himself throw far now. I feel like he's more in control of his movement, if that makes sense.
I can agree with that, yeah.
And that's where I think it's exciting to be like, it makes you wonder, it's like, I have to, if he's in thinking it says, like, I have to go 70, like, first 3 rounds.
I think, especially going off of Ramona, where he broke the world record on first attempt, and just seeing some of the commentary between him and Mo Satara, his coach, at Cal, I definitely feel like, you know, I don't want to say like their staple is like, all right, we got to win it within the first 3, but I feel like the way that he's been attacking some of his competitions, like those first couple will be, you know, the statement.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there's anything for him to do, it's just to get a big one within those, you know, first 3.
I agree. And, you know, I think we've seen a lot of progress from Alekna, you know, the last few years. And the reality is, in this sport, you always want to progress. You always want to make improvements, not excuses. And if you want to make improvements to your throws, we talked about earlier in the show, you can get onto custom programming here at Throws University, written by Sam Weeks here. Guys, this is elite level training that we've used to coach some of the greatest throwers in the history of the sport. This is the same training that you can get access to, whether you're in middle school, high school, college. You can get better today. Check out throwsuniversity.com. Find the program that makes sense for you so you can drop some bombs. Peace.